A warm good morning and welcome to the EUROBIKE, the second one to be held in Frankfurt. It's very good of you to come to the press areas, and also a welcome to everyone participating at their screens at home via our live stream. We're very happy for you to be there. In the hour that we have, we want to provide a brief overview of the large variety of EUROBIKE 2023. Dear your readers, your listeners and your viewers or your followers and users, and all those who will be in the region in Frankfurt in the next week will have the opportunity to participate in the festival days in Frankfurt. They can see the craziest bike innovations, the most practical bikes, the most sporty bikes, the most comfortable bikes, and many other things. And it's all free and all under professional guidance. So this is a wonderful offering for anyone enthusiastic about bicycles. Europe is about bike sports, but we are also about health, mobility, sustainability, mobility and digitization. And of course, EUROBIKE also represents fun and pleasure on bicycles and under the bike. Two BMX professionals, Lara Lessmann and Bruno Hoffmann, have joined us today. They will show a few tricks after the press conference today, and they will also talk shop. Both of them have been professionals for some time. They are part of the German elite, and you may have heard about them. If you, as the press, would like to get to know this comparatively young sport, you have the opportunity to do so after the event. Lara, BMX is not an exotic sport anymore. Many young people are now involved in this. How did you come to do it? I'm originally from Flensburg, where there is one of the largest skater parks in Germany. My big brother was a professional for the then standards. I started inline skating and skateboarding, and then I became a bit bored with that and I started BMXing. I have now been doing this for 14 years and I still love it as I did on the first day. Bruno, you are not one of those who goes cruising on a BMX bike. You do contests, you win prizes and you make money. It's a different league. How did you come to be a professional? It's a creeping process. You begin by being invited, and you start off by cycling at your own costs. You begin as an amateur, and then maybe you do well, then you might get a t-shirt or a pair of shoes or some accessories for the bicycles, and that all culminates eventually and accumulates. And if you don't act, if you're not completely stupid at it, then you can be invited to a contest or a tour or something, and it's a creeping process. With a bit of luck, you will then get some money. Sounds good. Making money from your hobby is always a good thing in any sport. Some things about BMXing that may not be quite so familiar. Is there anything that you will never forget? My big highlight was the gold medal at the Young Olympics in Argentina. Then 2021 I was in the real Olympic Games. Unfortunately, I had broken my collarbone 6 weeks before, but I still managed to get somewhere. And women's BMX has now been promoted quite well, and we are well received by now. And falling off, breaking a bone is part of the game, right? Unfortunately, yes, but if you look at it on balance, then it's no more than in any other sport. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I fell down And nevertheless, looking back, that never stopped me from BMXing. If you fall down, you just get up again and start again. And the good thing about BMX is that nobody else can do damage to you. If you do fall down, it's your own fault. And you basically get it into your head to achieve something, and then you go for it. You have some proper stars involved in the sport. What do you most look forward to? What I look forward to most is the fact that BMX is not a marginal sport, but something that is now mainstream, and I'm very happy to see that there are many women involved now, and I'm hoping for all of us to have a good time together. And Bruno, you will also be there and you will watch. You're a Frankfurt person yourself, born and bred, so you're a local hero. What do you feel about EUROBIKE coming to the metropolis on the Main River? It's a great decision because there is greater acceptance and there is more visibility for BMX in a city or in society this way. And maybe a few more children will begin to cycle as a result. And maybe we will find more opportunities or more skate parks will be built. On the other hand, it's about mobility. And even though we are a very small sector of the bicycle industry, it's growing and growing, and everyone will benefit from that. Thank you very much, Lara and Bruno. So those two represent fun at EUROBIKE. But when it comes to serious subjects, we have the future as a subject, future mobility, and our Dirk Heidrich, the EUROBIKE show director, will give a few insights into EUROBIKE 2023. So Dirk doesn't arrive on a bicycle, he arrives on an e-scooter, which kind of signals where the journey is going, because mobility does not only concern bicycles. Dirk, after a successful premiere in Frankfurt a year ago, we are now in our second edition. What is your gut feeling about it? Well, we have a very good and positive basic feeling. We have 1,900 exhibitors from 62 countries at our site next week. They will fill the whole western section of the buildings. So we are relaxed, but 5 days before such a big event, we are also quite excited. Looking back, EUROBIKE looks back on a very long, successful history. But looking forward, we have innovations in the bicycling world too. What type of novelties have you thought about for this year's program? So last year at the premiere we had a reviewed concept, and we have continued to review our concept and have included new subjects. For instance, in the Hall 9.2, our supplier area, we have the B2B exchange, which is supposed to improve B2B business. It's only open for 3 days because it is all about supply and component companies. On Wednesday evening at the close of the fair, we will meet at Massif Central in town, where all bicycle players as well as the cycling community of Frankfurt, and last but not least we have the EUROBIKE Award. We had paused it last year, but with our new partners we have relaunched our award. We have great submissions, wonderful jury sessions and fantastic winners. These are all platforms where there will be much discussion, not only about the latest bicycle inner tube, but also about subjects such as the lack of skilled workers, sustainability, mobility solutions, all terms that we have heard from politicians. Has the bicycle become a very political instrument? Yes, definitely. And we have fulfilled this objective last year and are doing so again this year. We now have the EUROBIKE convention, which is our own event, and we will hold it again this year on the first day of the fair. And we also managed to get the national cycling competition to Frankfurt. It will take place on the first morning of the fair, and that is the most important political event for bicycles in Germany. You will be able to follow us on the live stream when we now present some of the novelties that will come into the shops this year. You will give us an insight into what is happening. Have you found a cool tool or a coolest tool? Well, we have seen all the submissions, and we have the option to see the products live, and an independent jury will judge them. But of course we also take a look at them, and what we have seen is that e-bikes will continue to play a very important role, as well as products involving road and driving safety. So you can see these products where they are exhibited. Personally speaking, the e-scooter on which I came in is a very good product. I came in on it, and I like it in many ways. It's a great product. So this is a product by Urban Electrics, and anyone who wants to know more details are welcome to pose questions to Dirk later. So the EUROBIKE is a big playground, and of course it is also a big marketplace. It is about big business. Contracts are signed here, cooperations are agreed. And now we want to speak to somebody who has the figures at first hand. Burkhard Stork, the German Bicycle Industry Association Managing Director, ZIV. So Burkhard is coming in from the building side, so to speak. We will explain this later. Burkhard, the cycling world looks back on a few shaky years. Many people have decided to use bicycles instead of public transport. And then we had supply difficulties and production difficulties in the Far East. So there has been quite a lot of movement. How is the cycling industry doing today? Well, thank you for inviting me to be here. I can't wait for the event to begin. I can see it coming along outside. It's great. Yes, you're right. We have seen a few years of upheaval. And then right at the point where we thought that we had the solution to all our problems, Russia invaded Ukraine. And then also there was the subject of inflation, which we would had preferred not to have. If I should try to describe everything, then we would need 2 or 3 hours. The situation is as heterogeneous as we never had it before. We have full storage, but we also have supply problems here and there. And sales have not been as good as we would have expected. The sun has been out again for the last 4 weeks, and in those 4 weeks we have sold more bicycles. But at the moment it is really difficult to say how is the sector doing. All industries that participate in the fair mention terms that concern us all. The lack of skilled worker is one, reticence in purchasing is another. You talked about the war in Ukraine, but how does this actually manifest itself in the cycling sector? Do people not buy bicycles, or do they buy used bicycles? All of those things. I said before that we have a heterogeneous situation, and to put it in a nutshell, in the lower and medium price range, fewer vehicles are sold. But at the same time, I know that people buy many more of these vehicles online. And in the high-end sector, we have leasing, which helps to uphold sales. And the manufacturers in the very high end of the industry are also beginning to push a little. So there is no single answer. So in time for EUROBIKE, we already put up the presentation on screens. And for those participating in the live stream, everybody else is welcome to ask Burkhard questions later. And then we have the National Cycling event that's taking place, the National Cycling Congress, where Burkhard will also be available. Okay, it's almost like putting together Lego. I practice this. I would like to say a few things about this. This is a quick fit measure that allows you to build a cycle lane in a very short time. We used to think that buying a cycle lane takes about 15 years and requires a construction company, but it can be a much quicker process, and I'm very happy to see these kind of things at EUROBIKE now. This is a quick build product. So this is a product, or rather an idea, that was put up for the EUROBIKE award. I cannot say who the winner is. The award ceremony will only take place next week. We have a question from the Velonauts, which is, does the bicycle sector find more support from politicians? Dear Velonaut colleagues, I can say yes and no to that question again. We have started the largest cycle lane building offensive that has ever been seen in Germany. There is enough money available right now for the local authorities to start building cycle lanes. So no one can say that there is no money available, and we owe Mr. Scheuer and Mr. Wissing for this, the transport managers that we had in the past. They are not particularly enthusiastic about cycling themselves, but they help the process along. And now the pendulum is going the other way. At the moment, I'm sorry, I cannot put it in any other terms, the talk about openness to technology, and we are going to use e-fuels to clean up our cities, and we have to make sure that our cities remain car friendly, even though we know that 50 or 60% of all routes covered by car are only 1 or 2 kilometers long. I would not have expected politicians at all levels, not just the Minister of Transport, but also in the states and in the local authorities, to fall back to the thinking of the 80s. Thank you very much, Burkhard. I believe that this subject will be one that occupies our thoughts in the electoral campaigns of the next few years. And now we meet a very interesting woman. She is a bicycle mechanic, or bicycle spanner wielder, as we call her. And that's not actually a derogatory term. No, that's true. We can use that word. My father showed me how to do it, how to change an inner tube, how to maintain a tire. I had free access to the workbench in the cellar, and it was never conveyed to me that this was something that I shouldn't do. I had a friend who I wanted to help, and her mother stood next to me and told me, "But you're not able to do that because you're a girl." It's something that I can't really understand, is why people put up these hurdles for girls. I have 2 left hands as far as I'm repairing a bicycle is concerned. So this gender distribution is actually nonsensical. My experience in workshops is that the talent for wielding a spanner is not dependent on the gender. There are some women who immediately understood, and it's also not nice for men to be expected to be able to do it. You run a workshop, you have run the homepage of Velophil, and you're also involved in purchasing. And this is one reason why you are a jury member for the EUROBIKE Awards. You and your colleagues have looked at dozens of products and tried them out. Dozens is actually an underestimate. And that is actually very good, because the more products are submitted, the greater the selection is. Are you happy with the innovations? There were some great things involved. Yes, we found some really great products that we were happy to award a prize for. We have already mentioned the lack of skilled workers. That is probably the same in your part of the industry. Yes, it's catastrophic. Next week, we have a platform where young people are coming to EUROBIKE, young people who like to cycle, and when they find cycling cool, they might start training in that field. It's a good industry, it's a friendly industry, people have fun doing it, and people are convinced that it's the right thing for them when they do it. It's also a future-proof industry, because ChatGPT might be able to tell me how to bleed a brake, but to actually do it, you have to have hands on site. So anyone who's looking at us either in person or at their screens, send us your teenagers, send us your children. Frank has a question. It's a question on the same subject. Bootcamp Bank asks whether people coming in from other jobs might be suitable for the bicycle industry. Yes, absolutely. One of the people who joined us used to actually work in a bakery, but he's now one of our best workers. So now we will have a look at all the products that were presented for EUROBIKE. We begin with an e-mountain bike, which Sophia has just come in on. It's the Scott Lumen 900. It's a stylish thing. Yes, we can't call it any other way. It's a stylish thing. It is really easy to drive. It's technically wonderfully solved, and the integration and the engine and everything are wonderfully conceived. I have no resistance when I'm going, and it's really light for a mountain bike. It only weighs 15 kilos. And you only get assistance when you need it. And then Sophia is wearing a nice helmet on her head. Of course, we only go out with a helmet. It's a helmet produced by VD. And then we have the Cycle Plus Cube by Mini E-Pump. I only saw it for the first time yesterday. What does an e-pump, an electric pump, actually do? Well, we, as the jury, also were somewhat surprised, but then we were compelled by it. You can pump up 2 racing bike tires with one charge to get them up to 7 or 8 bars. It works well, it works fast, and then you can recharge it using a battery. It's a super solution. So you just charge it like a mobile phone. Yes, basically yes. I know a lot of people have problems using bicycle pumps, but this thing, you simply attach it. It's small, it's handy, it works. It's a very good and practical innovation. Thank you very much, Sophia. We carry on with a cargo bike. Oscar is coming in on that. It's called Tool Bike, and it's made by the Monopole company. This one was appealing to most of us from the start. It's got a clear design, it has clear lines, it's great to cycle on. It has a pinion drive, has good longevity, and it's robust. The steering is also very good. It really rides very nicely like a normal bicycle. And I always find a bicycle needs to look nice and inspire you to go out riding. If you think about the first cargo bikes or even e-bikes, then you have to say that they are becoming quite trendy now. These things cost a bit of money. You would rather not lose it. This is why we need a good lock for this. We have the Arbus Granite Super Extreme here. It is very robust, and granite indicates that it is quite hard wearing and not easy to crack. It's new technology. Basically, the U-lock has includes some material which eats up angle grinders. I know how to use an angle grinder because I have to crack open locks when someone loses their key, and you can go out in public, nobody cares. But an angle grinder would basically lose its teeth, as it were, trying to crack this one. And you can always crack anything, but it would take its time. You could use a diamond wheel on the angle grinder, I suppose. Yes, you might, but it still takes time. So Sophia has brought in an agile racing bike for us by the Mustache company. It has the simple name of J. So this matte grey is a bit of a trendy color at the moment. It may be due to the Ukraine war at the moment, using camouflage. Well, then it would have to be blue and yellow, wouldn't it? What we liked about this bicycle is the riding characteristics. It rides really well. Has a full suspension. It is extremely comfortable for people who need the full suspension. It's got a nice uncluttered design. You can add quite a lot of luggage. It's a great bicycle. So then let's look at Sophia's head. If you look at the back of her helmet, you see a blinking helmet by Overrate. How do you work this one? Well, it works on a wireless signal. You can use a flashing signal, which also gives the same acoustic indication as a car would, to show people that we're using a turning light. And this is a brake light, so if the bicycle is braking, this helmet lights up to show people following behind that the bicycle is coming to a halt. So here is the application for it, the controls. What do you think about it yourself? Well, I'm not so happy with the fact that the helmet gets quite warm, or your head gets quite warm under the helmet. Thank you very much, Sophia. Now, Alex is coming in. He doesn't always look as good as he does today. He's wearing a Windy City Slicker rain jacket by the Agu company, which keeps the weather at bay. Can you please open the zip at the side? So if you now raise your leg, you see that you can cycle in the rain. Your thighs remain protected. That's always the problem, isn't it? I have enough freedom of movement using this zip, but I'm able to then close the zip afterwards. So this is a bit of urban style that you can wear easily. And the other thing is they looked a lot at environmental friendliness. The color is not only beautiful, it's also to do with the fact that there was no dye used in the manufacturing process. And then you have this option of putting the hood on when it rains. And the other thing is it's warm. Okay, Oscar is coming in on a folding bicycle at Brompton, but here we are looking at the handles. They're called Velo Spring. The company is called Velo Spring. The handles are Art Comfort, and they help alleviate pain. Okay, so there are two functions here. One is that large grip area, which helps to cushion bumps. And then there's also a spring inside, and that helps to, again, alleviate bumps. It is a different type of handle, which does not make the whole steering section of the bicycle feel a bit soft. So we have the opportunity to try out everything, and this is a feature that I think you need to hold in your hand to feel. Then Oscar is wearing a particular helmet by Uvex. It's called the Uvex City Stride MIPS hip lock helmet. You can lock this helmet. So it has a lock along the side. You can't actually see it, but you can pull it out like that. It's not the highest level of security, but you can fix the helmet to the bicycle outside the dog peeing area. So what is that actually? Well, a lot of people put the helmet to the bottom of the bike, but I would never do that. I live in Berlin, so you have the dog pee zone. I would prefer to put it up on the saddle, but we thought it was a charming thing to allow you not to always take the helmet with you, but to leave it behind on your bicycle. Also, Oscar brought a front light. It's called Naka Road by the Entendu Lightning Company. It's for installation on the bicycle. What is it for? It is for racing bikes. Racing bikes travel at a faster speed than other bikes, so I have to look further ahead. And if I'm very fast, then I cannot really look further ahead than 2 meters on the road. This illuminates the road very widely and further. But at the same time, when it's set properly, it does not dazzle oncoming traffic. Thank you, Oscar. And now we can finally talk about our building works. You may have asked yourself, why do we talk about roadworks? This is a tool that we have seen in the past few months and years in German municipalities. They are mobile cycle lanes where you can do a pop-up bike lane, as they are called, quite quickly without having to dig into the road or anything. So you can give cyclists a safe space to use the road. The exciting thing that we liked about it, often the argument is that we will cut into paths, we will narrow the lanes for emergency vehicles, and if there is a traffic jam, people cannot get through them anymore. However, these things are flexible, so the fire brigade can go over these things if need be, and there will be no damage. So this is one further argument that is eliminated, not to have a cycle path. Now we have another bicycle presented by Gunnar Fehlau. Gunnar is the editor of Pressedienst, which is a specialist cycling magazine. And since January, he has been a digital nomad on 2 wheels. At the moment, Gunnar, you are actually living on your bicycle. Yes, I'm living in my van without a van. I have been cycling on my e-cargo bike, and I'm living from and on the bicycle. So that's quite aesthetic, isn't it? Well, I think it's much nicer to be out in nature, and what nicer thing could there be than to cycle? But it's not that I'm taking a holiday, it's a mobile office taken to its extreme. Gunnar, you also brought a tool with you. It's called a Pamir by Tout Terrain. Annette will give us a brief explanation about it. For people like Gunnar who like long car journeys, this is a touring bike with wide tires. So if I cycle not only on tarmac, but if I'd like to do bicycle expeditions. This is suitable. It has a pinion drive, and the engine and gears are integrated. It's been encapsulated inside. It is a very sturdy frame. They're very sturdy stays. It's stainless steel. It won't rust. So it's an expedition bicycle in an electrified version. And it has very good riding characteristics. You ride it very pleasantly, and it feels very nice. It also shows that the electrification of the cycling sector has now reached those parts of the industry where people said before there will never be electrification for these bicycles. But here you can see a joining of components that are supposed to put together. The transmission and the engine are integrated. Everything is coordinated. There are no interface problems. Everything is centrally placed at a low spot. It's been one of the highlights of the fair for me, this bicycle. And the other point I would like to make is that most of the parts used for this bike have been made in Europe. So the frame comes from Europe. The electrical parts are from Switzerland. I would like to talk about the awards again. And the question for the award juror is there a general major trend in products submitted, or are there individual items? Well, we were very diverse in our makeup, in our lineup. So people had their own specialties. For instance, the professor for traffic was involved in the bike lane product, and practically minded people could show us why the mountain bike was a good idea. So it was all quite heterogeneous, I would say. Thank you very much. And we can have interviews later, but even in those, nobody will give an indication of who won an award and who didn't. So Gunnar, we are carrying on with an e-gravel bike ridden in by Sophia. It is the My Vice bike. Well, we just talked about the fact that the transmission and the motor are growing together, and now we see the same thing with a drive. We have a very small drive here. It's only pushes you a little bit, so it's not really geared up for long expeditions. It's thus quieter and lighter and also more affordable. And here we see an example of a gravel bike where a drive assistance of 25 kilometers an hour is more suitable than it would be on a racing bike. 25 kilometers per hour assistance is decent. So we had a cargo bike, we had a touring bike, we had an e-bike, very different models in other words, and each bicycle is different and rides differently, and you ride it for different lengths of time. So it would make sense for the cushioning in your cycling shorts to be adaptable in the same way. So Faudi has created cycling shorts, cycling pants for different applications. So this is the application concept. How do I sit in it? In what positions and how much pressure do I put on it? If you're riding a racing bike, you're almost hovering over the saddle. And in order to differentiate between them, Faudi has basically developed 3 themes. There's one for road use, one for touring, and one for off-roading. So the racing bike version is tighter and thinner. The others are a little softer. And we all know that cushioning is not cushioning, as we find out on our sofa at home. And now we have a gravel bike produced by the Dutch cult company Koga. In the Netherlands, as you may know, cycling is like a people's activity. And this is the Colmaro, which is quite good because it shows the development of the last few years. Those bicycles were known for their very high-end steel frames, and now they've approached the gravel bikes more, whereas the gravel bikes went more into the direction of mountain bikes. So the Colmaro has a more extreme version here. They have wider tires, they have more storage space, so this makes this bicycle more universal, in my opinion. And you can cover more situations with one bicycle, which is the advantage of the gravel bike. It's an all-rounder. So if you want to go away for a weekend, you need to pack a few things. And here we have the quick release handlebar mounting set by the Ortlieb company, and a bag as well. We had the subject of bicycle bags in the past. They were so tightly fitted to the bicycles that you had to be a sailor in order to undo the knots. But now we can actually undo it with one operation, and all the valuables that you carry can then be taken to the beer garden if you want to. And this is a two-stage system. We have the system that we know from previous bicycle bags, where you can just pull them off easily, and the same goes for the mount, which has the similar quick release fitting. Well, quick never works when I'm doing a demonstration, but you can release it really quickly. So if I would like to go out on a sporty ride without any luggage, then you can get it off again quite easily. Okay, so I've messed up the timing anyway. Annette could have done it a whole lot quicker. It's not true. Yes, true. The problem is not me, it's the cables in combination with the microphone. But once you have grasped the technology, you can make this into a purist sports bike in 15 seconds, but at the same time you can take a bag with you and be very flexible in the usage. So this is a bicycle you can use flexibly in a number of situations, which is the advantage of gravel bikes. I'm not going to ask you how many bicycles you have standing in the garage, just to get back to your idea of multi-use bicycles. But we also have a heart for young riders, and we would like to conclude our presentation today with a children's mountain bike that Daddy Dirk is coming in with. It's called the Suburb B20. So what can this bicycle do? Can you go out into off-road terrain like that? Well, of course, the little ones can go off-road on this one. It's very solidly constructed, and as far as the drive is concerned, it is not too complicated. So the little ones can go off-road and not break anything. You're a daddy yourself. Is this the sort of thing that mommy and daddy would like to ride? Well, a normal children's bicycle is boring if daddy has a nice mountain bike and they only have a normal children's bike. Of course, children want to do exactly the same thing as mommy and daddy do. So visitors can look at all these products that we have shown today during the festival days and try them out in the kids area, in the action area, in the bike travel area. And there is also a special cargo bike advice center. So anybody cycling will have a way of testing something. The journalists present will shortly have an opportunity to do interviews with our experts, to take photos. and to speak to our BMX experts. Otherwise, we look forward to receiving many visitors and members of the press in Frankfurt next week. We would be very happy if we could have a big party with you. There will be VIPs and professionals like Joe Cayley, for instance. Thank you for your interest, either in person or at home in front of your screens. So keep biking.